The year is 1981. Tensions in the Middle East are running high. At the center of a growing geopolitical storm, Israel plots a move of unparalleled audacity, a preemptive strike on Iraq's Osirak nuclear reactor. Known as Operation Opera, it was a masterstroke of strategic planning and the ultimate battlefield triumph. The daring raid reverberated across the political landscape of the Middle East by rewriting the rules of international conflict and, in turn, altering the course of global history. In the late 1970s, Iraq, under the leadership of President Saddam Hussein, was attempting to become a nuclear power. Central to this aspiration was the Osirak Reactor, also known as Tammuz 1, located about 11 miles southeast of Baghdad. This nuclear facility, constructed with significant assistance from France, was nearing completion and poised to enable Iraq's nuclear ambitions. As a result, alarm bells were ringing in Israel. The Middle East was a region already simmering with tension, and the idea of a nuclear-armed Iraq was deemed an existential threat. The government of Saddam Hussein had already demonstrated its aggressive intent in numerous conflicts, and a nuclear weapon in its arsenal could severely upset the precarious regional balance of power. Israel had long maintained a policy of nuclear ambiguity, neither confirming nor denying the possession of nuclear weapons. However, with the looming potential of a nuclear-armed adversary, the Israeli leadership decided that a policy of ambiguity might not be enough. The decision was taken to carry out a decisive and preemptive strike. This line of thinking was deeply rooted in the Begin Doctrine, named after then-Israeli Prime Minister Menachem Begin, which advocated a hard line against any regional nuclear threats, pledging to counter them with military force if necessary. The task of destroying the reactor was handed over to the Israeli Air Force, or IAF. The IAF planners opted for 8 F-16A fighter jets for the mission, with 6 F-15As providing air cover. The choice of the F-16A was significant. A relatively new addition to the Air Force, the F-16A boasted advanced avionics, a high payload capacity, and superior range relative to some of Israel's existing aircraft. This made it the perfect platform for this daunting mission. The specific munitions selected were 2 unguided Mark 84 2,000-pound bombs per aircraft. Known for their devastating destructive power, these bombs were intended to guarantee the complete destruction of the reactor. But the mission was more than just a show of brute force. It required a high level of strategic planning. The planes had to fly almost 1,000 miles without being detected, a route that traversed Jordanian, Saudi, and then Iraqi airspace. The IAF adopted a tactic known as terrain masking. The aircraft flew at an altitude of just 150 feet, using the Earth's natural topography to stay hidden from enemy radar. On June 7, 1981, the daring mission was executed. Departing from the Etzion Air Base in the Sinai Peninsula, the route carried the aircraft over the Gulf of Aqaba, through Saudi airspace, skirting the Jordanian border, and finally venturing into Iraqi territory. Along the way, Israeli pilots even spoke using Saudi-accented Arabic to confuse Jordanian air control, while adopting Jordanian radio signals and flying formations to deliver the same effect on the Saudis. After successfully evading Saudi, Jordanian, and Iraqi air defenses, the squadron approached Osirak. They ascended to nearly 7,000 feet for the bombing run before entering a 35-degree dive targeting the reactor complex. At 3,000 feet, the optimal altitude for the deployment of the Mark 84 bombs, the Israeli pilots released their payload. The aircraft immediately returned to low-altitude flight, exiting Iraqi airspace as stealthily as they had entered. The operation was a success. The Osirak reactor was decimated. All of the Israeli aircraft returned safely, in a remarkable achievement for the IAF. The mission demonstrated the effectiveness of well-planned and precisely executed military aviation tactics. Operation Opera drew international condemnation, with the United Nations Security Council passing a resolution criticizing the attack. But within Israel, and among certain Western powers, the operation was seen as a necessary act of self-defense against a clear and present danger. The attack on the reactor not only disrupted Iraq's nuclear ambitions, but also served to reinforce the Begin Doctrine. The successful preemptive strike against a perceived existential threat to Israel set a precedent for future Israeli military strategy. In the years following Operation Opera, Israeli military doctrine was deeply influenced by the events of June 1981. The effectiveness of a preemptive strike and the use of advanced aviation tactics to maintain strategic superiority were noted. Israel had sent a clear message to any potential nuclear adversary in the region. This also spurred advancements in IAF's precision strike capabilities, surveillance and evasion tactics, further cementing their reputation as a formidable air power. The Osirak Raid also had profound effects on the regional geopolitical landscape. It demonstrated to Israel's adversaries the lengths to which it was willing to go to prevent nuclear armament. It effectively halted the nuclear arms race in the region for a time, forcing nations to reconsider their nuclear ambitions in the face of Israel's determined opposition. Today, Operation Opera stands as a testament to the intricate interplay of military strategy, aviation capabilities, and geopolitics. It is a stark example of how the threat of nuclear proliferation in the Middle East was thwarted not by diplomatic negotiation, but by a daring flight of fighter jets on a mission that forever changed the course of history.